What is going on, all my fellow geeks? I am JKK, the Meta Geek, and of course you clicked on this video because you know one thing, and that is that here on this channel, we love Spider-Man, okay? Not only do we love Spider-Man, we love Spider-Man enough to do film essays, character analysis, all things Spider-Man. We love it. And one of the things that we need to talk about is how the end of Spider-Man No Way Home is going to affect the character of Spider-Man going forward, and what Sony and what Disney can do with the character to make as much money and make fans as happy as possible. We're going to talk about all of that. Make sure to stay tuned after this transition. So of course, if you haven't already, join the Meta Mafia, dude. Like 2022 is about to be the greatest year. It is the year of the Meta Geek, and I would love for all of the Meta Mafia to be able to love all of the content that we put out, because of course we talk about Star Wars, we talk about DC, we talk about Marvel, of course. And of course, one of my favorite characters growing up, like I'm sure a lot of yours were, was Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is one of those characters where, of course, I haven't loved every single iteration of Spider-Man. I have had my gripes with every iteration of Spider-Man. Now, of course, growing up, my favorite was Toby Maguires. Still kind of is my favorite, just because I think if you take all three movies and stack it up against 3 or 2 movies of the other Spider-Man, I think they're still just superior when it comes to the character of Spider-Man. But bump that. What we're talking about here is, what does the future of the character of Spider-Man look like when it comes to films, movies, television, whatever we're talking about. And we're gonna start with Tom Holland. Now, of course, if you did watch Spider-Man No Way Home, this isn't going to be a spoiler for you, but if you haven't already, this is going to be a spoiler that I am talking about right now. At the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, when Tom Hollands Spider-Man makes the sacrifice for everybody to forget who Peter Parker is. They all know who Spider-Man is, but they do not remember who Peter Parker is. One of the things that, we got was that Spider-Man went and got his apartment, and then after that, what happened? He made the traditional Spider-Man red and blue suit, and from there on, we have Spider-Man by himself trying to make it work. And of course, from that, everything's been kind of reset. Spider-Man No Way Home felt like a reboot, a soft reboot within the same franchise, which is crazy because it was a movie that in the first half, it's still that movie, but in the last third of the movie, it completely changes the character. And of course, I do believe that the way that they have set that up and leaving a symbiote with Venom in there, the MCU is going to be doing their own version of Secret Wars going forward. I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going to continue in the MCU, and of course Sony has had plans to have Spider-Man in their projects, which is why they've set up the SSCU, or the Spider-Man Cinematic Universe. And I think that that's what we need to talk about when it comes to the future of Spider-Man, because a lot of people think that there's a difference, and Sony wants to have Tom Holland in their universe, but Marvel is kind of like, no, we're going to keep Tom Holland in our universe. And we have had Kevin Feige saying that Spider-Man is the only character that can swing between cinematic universes. I think it's all a ploy, because a lot of things that have come out recently have basically kind of told us what, Sony might be planning when it comes to their Sony Spider-Man Cinematic Universe. So I know what you're saying. If you haven't watched my other videos, make sure to go check out my other Spider-Man update videos that we have done with leaks and rumors and things and updates that have come out. There are talking about Sony wanting Andrew Garfield to come back for multiple projects as Spider-Man, whether that is, in the MCU stuff or things that they are doing. One of the things is that Sony is still planning on having Spider-Man versus Venom in Venom 3. That is Tom Hardy's Venom 3 that they are doing. They want Spider-Man in that, but at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, they made sure to show you that they were in separate universes, that Tom Holland was still in the MCU and Tom Hardy got sent back to his universe. So if that is still the plan, which Daniel RPK has reiterated that that is still the plan for Venom 3, then what could they do? Well, with other news coming out is that they want to do a spin-off of Electro from this movie with Jamie Foxx. And what would that mean? That would mean that the Spider-Man in Jamie Foxx's universe is Andrew Garfield. And they also want to do a Spider-Gwen movie with Emma Stone, which would be Gwen Stacy from Andrew Garfield's universe. So it would only make sense where a lot of people think that maybe they want to do Amazing Spider-Man 3. I don't think that that's the case. I think Sony is going to be leaving the solo Spider-Man movies for Tom Holland so that it doesn't confuse people. But when they're doing their own Sony movies and they have already established that they are in a different canon and multiverse, a different universe, that they would have their own Spider-Man over there, and Andrew Garfield can play that character in those movies, which would corroborate with the report that they want Andrew back for multiple projects moving forward. So I think when it comes to the future of Spider-Man, we could have two Spider-Men at the same time, and I don't think that that's something that you can go, oh my god, how could you do that? The masses are not going to be able to understand that. That is not how it works. Look at what DC is doing right now. Everybody knows Michael Keaton coming back as Batman in the same movie where Ben Affleck is going to be Batman, and then also having Robert Pattinson as Batman at the same time. Nobody's saying that nobody's going to be able to understand that. Everybody knows there's different people that play Batman. Multiverse is a thing now that people do understand. They're like, oh, they're different universes. It's something fun to play with. So it's definitely not something that would confuse that. If Marvel wanted to do their own thing with Spider-Man, they could come to a new agreement where Tom Holland is that Spider-Man and they can still do Spider-Verse stuff. And the Spider-Man that everybody will be familiar from the Sony universes will be the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, so that everybody can meet up. And of course, everyone's like, oh, what are we talking about? Toby Maguire. That is another person that has been said that Sony wants to do other projects with, and Marvel, but it is not at the forefront as Andrew Garfield. So that is the future of Spider-Man. Looking forward, of course, there are projects coming out like Kraven the Hunter and them and the Black Cat reports and things like that. Of course, you can go find all of that in my video that I'll have linked somewhere on the screen, where you can get all of the news that you need regarding Spider-Man and future projects with Sony. So make sure to subscribe to MetaGeek. Join the Meta Mafia. What are you doing already? I already told you. 2022 is the year of the MetaGeek. The Meta Mafia will rise up. So I have been Jake, aka the MetaGeek, and I will see all of you geeks next time.